All right, I think we should be live about now. Let me notify people in bip bip. All right. Oh, let me make sure I actually have the stream chat up. And let me close that. Okay. I've been practicing a little bit off-world. You can see I'm up to, this is going to be playthrough 9 of hardcore. Trying to beat it. I've never beaten hardcore. I've always wanted to. Yeah, and this is the Happy New Year stream. Specifically, there's kind of two ways I would like this to go. I think it would be very fun to start the new year by beating something that I've always wanted to complete. Um, and I, 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 uh, uh, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is like the hardest thing I could spawn into possible. No! No! Why? Why? Please. Uh, no! No! God, isn't that a great metaphor for 20? Such an absurd. Okay, I want to make sure the stream is working. Is it doing the black screen stuff again? Oh, it's because I'm on audio only. Okay. Uh, let me clarify a little bit what happened. I spawned in on that tree. That one. I spawned in directly looking at that tower. I accidentally shifted here. Let me performance mode. Okay, so now I play the game. And yeah, Happy New Year's. Great metaphor. Not only did I mess up the stream by having it on the wrong setting, I don't even know why I had it on audio only. There's, like, I don't use audio only as a setting anymore, really. But also, I spawn in directly in front of a pillager outpost. Amazing. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad the video blew up too. It's a great video to end the year on, honestly. Like, it's one of my favorite videos I've written. It's I feel like it's one of the most, like, solid theories I think I've written in a while, where I'm like, I don't feel like I wouldn't feel bad pushing this in a timeline, you know. Like, there are some videos where I'm like, I don't want to be the one to try and argue this for a timeline. Like, in the current Midnight Motorist script I've been writing every now and then, I've mentioned it's like no one wants to be the person to have to argue Charlie doesn't not die in 1983. And I'm like, it's one of those, I don't believe it personally, which is part of the problem. Second problem is, even if I was a diehard Charlie in 1987, let's say, any other year, really, 1985, any year that wasn't 1983, convincing the fandom of that is so difficult compared to so many other things. Like, I would say, like, I even just, like, I think the phrasing I just use is like, if you want to be the person to argue that in a video, fine by me. I'm not going to try and convince people something that most people have already decided against, myself kind of included. Uh, but that was just something that's, like, that crossed my mind while writing a video, and the main reason I even brought it up was, in the Midnight Motors video I've been writing, I've not only been writing, you know, the Michael Runaway kind of updated edition premise, but I also wanted to genuinely, like, write a video that could pass for giving an explanation for, other interpretations mainly like that. Like I'm like, okay, if it's not Michael, what do I think it would be? And also using those other explanations to understand why I'm citing this way, because I actually didn't start writing the video with like Michael in mind. I was the premise of the new video started. I was writing of like, what if I just did like a more process of elimination heavy, like clearly this mini game is not telling us certain things, um but it obviously still has to do something lore wise. Like why waste your time programming a mini game that doesn't do anything, you know? um like the lore additions the other minigames provide are pretty simple, and it's like we don't need to overcomplicate it with another minigame unless there was something it was specifically trying to convey, or help us like confirm and reiterate, because it's easy to forget certain parts of like lore discussion and theorizing, but like because a lot of us have like the sense of time that we exist in now, where it's like, oh, most people understand that William is Springtrap and that he's the purple guy, he's the main killer. um Looks like we got a lava pool, which is good, but at the time there were pretty heavy William, like who was actually the killer debates leading into FNAF 6. Then we had multiple killers as a theory. We had um that like lasted on and off for a good while. Michael really did not help with that argument, because it was like, oh, now we got the son of purple guy. Um so I would argue stuff like Fruity Maze is helpful just to like reiterate things to make it like definitive and clear who kind of stands on what side in the storyline. Um it's like, yeah, it doesn't like, yeah, we already knew Spring Bonnet was probably the suit used to kill the missing kids. We probably already knew he had some shady tactics up his sleeve to help convince the kids to follow him. Like, none of that's like information we couldn't have surmised, but it's useful to have it just like confirmed and stated. Like, the end of the game states it's trying to tie up loose ends. And I think a lot of the simpler minigames in FNAF 6, like Security Puppet and Fruity Maze, do a good job of that. And likewise, that's kind of been one of my bases for interpreting Midnight Motorist, is like, okay, it has to like hit that space where it's trying to confirm something and help us understand something, rather than introduce an entirely new concept. Because why do it here? Even if Scott was planning to do more games, which is completely believable and obviously ended up being the case, why drop, like, for example, like, this is my biggest problem with like Andrew-based interpretations for Midnight Motors, which very much do exist. Why introduce Andrew right now, of all things? I can kind of understand introducing him in Ultimate Custom Night, because in that case it's kind of like its own epilogue thing almost. Like, you're creating a character for this game to be in this game. Adding him to something like Midnight Motorist, it's like it would just exist to basically be confusing at the time. Like, if you're not immediately going to follow it up, like, why do it? I'm trying to remember the thing or what the context was. I'm pretty sure Ultimate Custom Night, whatever. It's not. Bleh. I think I remember seeing something about Ultimate Custom Night being like a voted option. I don't remember that being a thing, or like people voted on what the follow up to FNAF 6 would be, or like or anything like that. But I remember seeing that being claimed, and I wonder what the source for that was. Like I said, I was in the community very much at that point in time, and I don't remember any talk of like oh, what do we want to see next? But that's a whole concept. What's Oh, okay, yeah. and I do think there was a discussion of, like, I don't think it was necessarily like a vote. It wasn't like a poll. I think it was just like literally a Steam post asking, like, did people want an Endless Tycoon or an Ultimate Custom Night? Uh, that I actually do think more. That sounds actually a bit more familiar. Because in my brain, when I hear, like, oh, it was undecided, I think of, like, a voting poll, like, people could submit to. But I didn't recall that. Anyway, that would imply the Ultimate Custom Night wasn't, like, a firmly committed to thing at that point in time. And it's kind of weird to introduce a character whose only purpose is Ultimate Custom Night, really. Unless you already knew about Phasma Fright, like, it's a lot of hypotheticals that's kind of hard to even, like, wrap your head around. But anyway. Yeah, maybe he always wanted to do, like, the Trapped in Limbo storyline, and, like, the Endless Tycoon of Villa. That's possible. I don't think this village was particularly helpful for me, other than providing some food and stuff. Anyway, in other news, or not in other news, the other thing I'm trying to consider with Midnight Motorist is there a timeline where every single minigame is intertwined? But like I said, it's one of those, like, how would you even create the argument that Charlie dies on the same night as the other kids in a way that's, like, convincing with just Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator? Oh. That's a rare spawn. Can I get this horse? I would love to have zombie horse. This is one I think the idea of the zombie horseman has been one of my favorite, like, new additions. Alright. You're 508 72 28 zombie horse. Now let's... Yeah, I've seen movie 2. Anyway, like I said, it was a possibility on my mind, and I'm just, like, struggling to, like, even make a way to argue it, because it's a hard thing to even, like, consider. Because, like, here's an example of, like, why I'm, like, so against it is, like, pretty much inarguably both FNAF 1 and 2 imply the missing kids were killed before the events of 1987. Because Phone Guy specifically said, like, and the smell, which was the big thing that got the pizzeria shut down after the missing kids were killed. That was established in FNAF 1. The only reason the animatronics smell as bad as they do, aside from the fact that they don't really wash or clean the animatronics, is that there were rotting corpses inside of them. And that would obviously imply they were already dead by the events of FNAF 2. So then you would have to argue that I guess you would have to argue it's like, oh, maybe he's... The only way to get the missing kids to die in 1987 and die with Charlie, or something like that, which is something I genuinely had to consider because of the fuzzy dice in Five Nights at Freddy's. Was like, is there a timeline where what we call the DCI is the MCI, and everything happened in Freddy's 2 in reality? But then it's like, then what the hell was the first Freddy's? Um, that gets into a whole like weird argument in timeline. Um, it's such a like a hypothetically like large departure from what we even think of as the lore. And then there's other details that don't like line up, like Spring Bonnie being used, and we never see Spring Bonnie in FNAF 2, which is kind of annoying. The first game establishes they were lured to a back room and killed, which is... we don't know if there's a safe room in Freddy's 2, really. If it is a rebuilt Fredbear's, I guess it would have that, but... of course, then it's like, what was the old location and all that? Anyway, I'm going on kind of an aimless rant because it's one of those. It's just my brain processing certain possibilities rather than what I think is actually the case. Because I think that's an important like. You don't get videos like the latest video if I don't consider weirder ideas on a surface level. And part of that is like weighing the full skew of like what would that imply. Like I say in the script, it's like, if we're going to consider an answer for Midnight Motorist, there should be no harm in trying to check our answer beyond just saying we fit the pieces together. Like, for example, I mainly do this with the Crying Child. Like, okay, if it was him, then it limits what can be the character outside, for example. Like, there's a pretty shallow list of entities who can be outside at night, with him in mind, given his time frame. But then it's like, okay, then what the hell was the mound? I'm still yet to figure out. It's one of my biggest complaints with the Crying Child and the being like the runaway. The mound in particular feels so weird with him in mind. Like, I can't fully parse out what it would be. And also, there is literally no timeline where the Crying Child can die on the same night as Charlie and also the missing kids, because that logic is just so, I guess for lack of a better term, like, self-repulsive? I don't know how to phrase it. Like, for the Bite Victim die, right? Yeah, we see the Springlock suits still using FNAF in his location. And the missing kids die after the Springlock suits, and they die at Freddy's. So if we try to connect all three minigames by saying, like, oh, it's all three perspectives of the same story, which is something I've considered as a possibility for a while now. Though never, I don't think I've ever really made it work. Because there's always one part of the timeline that doesn't make much sense. But let's run with the Crying Child as an example for now. Let's say, like, okay, so he has to die in 1983 prior or whatever, right? And then it has to be the same night that Charlie dies, where the security puppet clues, which actually go even deeper than most people realize. Like, a lot of people are just like, oh, it's the car, and the rain, and the tire tracks, and there's more to it than even that. And more to it than even just later that night and all that, but whatever. Let's say we have, like, that. And then we try to say, oh, the Susie minigame connects to it, too. Like I said, these are all one events. Like, well, the Bite Victim dies before the Springlock suits are decommissioned. Seemingly. And he dies in 1983 when Fredverse is still, like, operational and all that. However, it seems on some level like the Fredbear costume that killed the Bite Victim is, like, related to at least the one at Freddy's or something like that. Or I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching there. But then it's like, okay, so we have them all die in 1983, I guess, before even the Bite Victim dies, in this hypothetical scenario. But then it's like, why didn't the missing kids dying is what gets Freddy's closed. So Freddy's would have to close, like, almost before Fredbear's does. which doesn't really fit like the implied timeline and kind of age of Freddy's as a concept. Like FNAF 2 talks about Fredbear's as like this really old concept, whereas it talks about Freddy's as like oh yeah, they kind of just left it to rot for a while. Which doesn't imply it's young or like new or anything, but it doesn't convey the kind of order of events. And also, it would make all the 1985 clues we got later kind of pointless. Why did it take 2 years for the place to be shut down? You know, if the kids have been dead the whole time. Um. Well, okay. It's not a Mandela effect. Because if you review the phone calls, I found a lava pool. That's good. If you review the tapes, he says that we're talking about not the Springlock suits as a whole, but the specific ones in play here. The Spring Bonnie suit that William uses to kill the missing kids was deemed too unsafe to be worn by people and was decommissioned. That's the one that he ends up wearing to lure the kids, seemingly. Or at least we don't know where the other suit would be, hypothetically. Because we only see the one suit in the back. So that is our timescale, is that as far as we know, Spring Bonnie and Fredbear are decommissioned, and that's the one used for the missing kids to be being lured and killed. It's specifically saying it's specifically saying he used the decommissioned suit. That is the kind of problem dynamic here. And also, it's not clear, because he says questions about appropriateness / relevancy should be ignored or denied, implying these are not Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. You wouldn't have to say that if they were just direct new models of the suits. Right? It is implied they are not Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. And once again, if there are replacement suits that are Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, we never see them anywhere. Like, they are never mentioned, they are never shown to us, they aren't even implied to have actually happened. It's not really a Mandela effect as much as it hinges on an entire narrative piece that was never confirmed or properly suggested. And I hate to be the guy who uses the books, but even Tales from the Petesplex says the suits were just banned and decommissioned shortly after their introduction. And that's in broad terms. That's just saying Springlock suits in general. So we only have a reason to doubt, and we do not have a reason to believe there is some secret other Spring Bonnie that could be used at Fredbear's Family Diner. Or anything like that. I mean, yes, Scraptrap could be the replacement Spring Bonnie, but even that's a speculative theory that only exists to try and justify like a specific scenario. I personally feel better saying Fredbear and Spring Bonnie are too dangerous. They are old Springlock suits who are decommissioned due to the fact that they were not safe. Get rid of this pickaxe. It's kind of hard to talk and play at the same time, I will say. So I'm kind of losing track some. Like, what we would have to be arguing, and this, like I said, review it all in context. We would have to argue that Fredbear and Spring Bonnie being deemed unsafe at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, right? Because that's... What the hell? Is this, like, buried treasure that's just, like, uncovered weird? Is this a destroyed house? What am I looking at here? God damn it. Well, new run. It's too early in the stream to... It wasn't even a great run. Either way, I didn't find a good cave. We would have to assume the springlock suits, like, almost instantly get prohibited. Because remember, this Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opens in 1983. And that same spring Bonnie suit is deemed unsafe to wear all the way up until the missing kids are killed. Right? We would then have to assume that Fredbear's Family Diner is open at the same time as Freddy's 1.0, which I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's a whole separate argument. And then we have to argue it's like, okay, well, even though they're both using springlock suits, like there's no problem. Even though Fredbear's is using springlock suits like while there seems to be no problem, it would have to be the replacement springlock suits to justify the missing kids already being dead. And there's no real way to prove or deny that, is my big problem. It's an argument that exists entirely assuming that, like, the springlock suits being decommissioned was a nothing plot beat, basically. Like, they were already implied to be dangerous, so we already understand how they fail. Implying they were decommissioned and prohibited only exists to move Spring Bonnie to the back room, which could have just happened either way. So, to me, the question is, why even imply these suits are banned and prohibited if you're not going to do anything with that in the story? Among other smaller questions I think this all raises. Because like I said, why I was even considering the idea of it all being one event from several perspectives is, like, I was like considering, like, okay, what do the fuzzy dice even mean anything? That was the real thing I was like considering. It was like, was this an intentional clue or was this like nonsense? And obviously, you can't have the bite victim run away if Midnight Motors happens in 1987. That was what I was getting at with all of this. But before even springlock suit replacement stuff, I was saying, like, that was kind of my original point. Then I got off track because the springlock suits all that were brought up. I mean, I partially brought it up, but I was just saying, like, it's even weird to have it in 1983, which is another possibility technically, but like I said, it feels like it goes against the usage of the characters. And what I was collectively just finding, like, the more I looked into, like, the timeline, it was like, the more I narrowed it down for, like, what Midnight Motors going to even be about, the more I ended up weirdly, like, regressing back to the idea of the bite victim being the runaway, or not the bite victim, Michael being the runaway. Like, it just felt like more chess pieces were explained, more things were concluded. Oh yeah, and the Circus Baby's Pizza World, or whatever the sister location is mentioned there, also kind of throws a wrench into the works. Because pretty... If it is meant to be Baby's Pizza World, I don't see how William could conclude, I'm going to murder children with a giant robotic claw inside of a clown murder demon, without either Charlie's death or the missing kids to base that off of. Because, like, why? I know he's a murderer. I know there's an argument, like, he doesn't need an elaborate motive, but I'm not even talking an elaborate motive here. It's like, why that method? Like, how do you go from automated killing off of nothing, no inspiration, no drive to do that? And that would imply he had already killed someone by the time that point. If that is meant to be the sister location in question, that would imply we were already at least after Charlie's death, which obviously breaks our one night timeline. And also, yeah, I just have trouble arguing Elizabeth was the very first victim in general. I'm trying to remember, like, how I wrote it into a script to explain, like, the kind of, for lack of a term, like, self-denying prophecy of Elizabeth first, of, like, for her to die first, our only evidence is that she would be the cause of the Springlock suits being banned, in theory. But if that's the case, what was it I said? It's like, then obviously, yeah, FNAF 4 couldn't happen if all Springlock suits are banned, and that was the implication. Because it would have to be... Circus Baby doesn't seem to use Bonnie at all as a character, or Fredbear, or any real variants of the classic animatronics. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up on things because I'm playing a game at the same time. These are not my best arguments, I will say in general. My greater point with the Springlock suits decommissioned is it feels like an important plot point to just ignore and never really clear up. Like it feels a little bit like a dead end assumption outside of the theorizing game of trying to interpret new scenarios. I don't have much reason to believe the Springlock suits weren't, like, specifically the Spring Bonnie and Fredbear that are relevant to the plot weren't. Like, I don't have a good reason to believe that the FNAF 4 Springlocks in particular are the upgraded replacement suits that only really apply in, like I said, the theorizing game of, like, oh, he said they were looking into replacements that we never see and never do anything, really. Like, it's a possibility, I guess, on paper. I just would need much more evidence for it than what I feel like there really is. And like I said, the Michael conclusion didn't just come from that. It came from the full answer it gave felt more complete and more reasonable. And third pickaxe. I'll do that. How do I explore this? I mean, you can't just paste quotes into chat without elaborating on them. I will point out, like, that's... like, I know the quote. Like, I specifically looked into this to consider sister location's timeline placement, if it is meant to be the same location or not. And it's one tape in a set of tapes where a later one makes it sound like that Spring Bonnie suit in particular is just never to be touched again. And nothing ever follows up to imply they got a new functional Spring Bonnie suit. And it still does not prove or support the premise that Fredbear's Family Diner later on could have replacement spring lock. It doesn't prove that it would be inherently later on, and it doesn't prove that those are specifically replacement suits and not just the originals. It's like I said, it's a very theorizing centric premise. It's God damn it. Thoughts on movie 2? I thought I answered this in the last stream, but I thought it was all right. That is like my complete thoughts almost. Movie 2 is fine. I would say it's about net the same value, I would say, as an experience as the first movie. But I think it's a little worse in I think it's higher highs, lower lows, if that makes sense. Retired to an appropriate location. Okay, but then they're not being retired. They're just being used again. That's not retiring. Like, the phrase retired implies it's not in service anymore. You don't retire a functional thing. You would, like, put it, like, in a museum or something like that. Yeah, I didn't hate the second movie or anything like that. That said, I think it has problems that are worse than the first movie, and it has cool things that are cooler than the first movie. Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest, and I don't really like mean to say this in a rude or pessimistic light. I really don't believe 90% of things dual process theory says or concludes. Maybe I'm just from too much of a different theorizing mindset to, like, I don't know. I think I've been eternally pushed the wrong way with their big main video in theory. I will say I don't think Withered Foxy did the bite of 87. I think there's one quote that is taken not out of context, it's more that there isn't context to it. That is used as something much more solid than it really is. Move from a yeah, but that's not retired. Like, retired to an appropriate location would imply they're not in use at that new location. Anyway, sorry, what was I saying? Dual process. Like, because I think I've mentioned this, I almost had a very different first big theory video than the Mike Runaway 1.0 video. That was basically just going to be a rant complaining about Cassidy Victim as a premise. I've always... Maybe hate's a little strong. I've always thought that theory just didn't make much sense and didn't feel very compelling and felt very, like, reductive of the story as a whole. And that felt too much like the topic at hand. You know, it's like, it felt like it was just trying to dig up, like, older... And this is the same reason I don't like some FNAF theories. Is it feels like it digs up an old, kind of forgotten concept in the fandom. Just be like, oh, but what if? Without fixing the things that caused it to be tossed to the wayside initially in the first place. Or supporting, like, why would we go back to this idea now of all times? I'm really split on the fun times. I acknowledge the rationale behind Molten MCI as a premise, but I'm now torn on it more than ever, with it feeling like the novels more and more are not like the biblical set, like they're not like are FNAF Bible for the lore. You know, they're not what everything is based on. They feel more and more like their own adaptation in the same vein as like the movies are their own thing. They don't try to be the definitive guidebook to the FNAF lore. They're just like one interpretation of a storyline and set of events. Um, and you really need the novels to strongly suggest even like the function of Molten MCI. And there's certain parts of it all that I'm just like not. They just feel kind of unintuitive. If it is meant to be there, I do think it's a bit of a clunky addition to the story. But also, like, the Nightmare Chambers have decent evidence for their existence, and they feel clunky. I personally have gotten to a rhythm where I really want my theories to feel like they can solidly be argued with the games alone. And maybe I'll bring up a book to help, like, explain a premise. If it's a little like hard to if the idea itself is kind of hard to grasp but it's well supported, I think a book's explanation might be helpful. However, this is a little too extreme for me in some ways. It's like you kind of need this to understand what the hell Henry would be talking about in theory in the Insanity ending. And it does provide a reasonable interpretation of that monologue. But I'd be lying if I said it felt even remotely definitive. You know, it feels like it still feels like it could just be one way to look at something. I could very see it. Like, I think the fun times have to be basically haunted no matter what. The question more is what haunts them. Like, what causes them to act the way they do. But I think there's a believable timeline where they're not haunted by anything in particular. Like, in terms of like a prior lore, character, victim, or anything like that. I need a lot more wood. I usually grab more. Oh, I want to elaborate on. Actually, we can pretty solidly debunk the idea that they were that the old Springlock suits were moved to Fredbear's, because he later says a reminder that the Spring Bonnie costume has been noticeably moved and is deemed not safe for employees. And you also should not bring customers back to the safe room, unless you want to argue that Fredbear's Family Diner is where the missing kids were killed and lured. As in the FNAF 4 location, then you are arguing that the decommissioned Spring Bonnie was noticeably moved. Like, noticeably moved would have to mean, in this case, brought back to, like, you would have to bring it all the way back to Freddy's to commit, like, the murder. Like, it's a very unintuitive interpretation, when it always seemed like, to me, the implication was like someone clearly wore the costume and set it aside in a different place when it shouldn't be touched at all. Because you have to factor in the later calls. You can't just keep repeating that one quote from the first call, because it's not the only commentary on that discussion. I didn't get stuff there. What else? Where did I build that? Oh, there it is. Um, like that call only makes sense if it's implying the missing children's incident has just happened as of that phone call, which completely kills like the Fredbear interpretation and makes a lot of narrative waste too. That would have to make a timeline where Fredbear's like it's moved to Fredbear's for like a week, just be moved back to Freddy's by William or whatever, and no one raises any suspicion about that, and Phone Guy does not mention that. Yeah, that I remember the originals being worn by William is my big gripe with this. It's like the originals clearly have to still be at Freddy's. They still clearly have to be used for the missing children's incident, and seemingly that even has to be the one that I guess Cassidy has to be stuffed into for Golden Freddy. Because I mean, maybe there's a replacement Fredbear. I don't know. That's another like hypothetical I'm unsure of. The whole idea. I don't have sticks. I am turbo trapped. Okay, let me... And this is a good... Like, there are diamonds here. I can't, like... No, I was trying to, like, oh, I can go back to the abandoned mine shaft, but that was the last world. That wasn't this one. Okay, here's the thing about, like, people saying stuff like, oh, the wizards are now different from the classic animatronics. This stuff happens, like, every new time a continuity does something different. This will just have to happen for a bit before people remember why the old theories were even believed in the first place. And sometimes they won't be. Like, sometimes an idea will die because it was incorrect, and like we'll kind of move past the limitations of something. I don't think this is I don't think this is one of them. I don't think the prototype explanation makes any goddamn sense with the games. Like Phone Guy specifically says they have a bad smell. If they were never used like at all, why would they have a bad smell? That's only like a thing for if they're like they were used to hide kids. I also will say Seeker of the Mimic kind of goes against the spring lock replacement premise somewhat, as it very much sounds like Henry was super against the spring lock suit's usage. Like he really wanted Edwin to not work on those anymore. Which, like I said, kind of implies to me like we're doing the whole like they're kind of prohibited and banned, and Pressure has them stated as being collectively banned. And if pretty much no matter how you interpret the sister location springlock suit, it implies there's something up with the springlock suits. Because his baby says it was never worn because it was too dangerous. I am trapped. I have no sticks. I guess I can build up. Damn it. What was I even saying? I kind of zoned out there. I mean, wouldn't Edwin saying they're trying to make springlock suits that are waterproof when they're clearly not by the time of the missing kids being killed imply either he's wrong or they never use his improved versions? I just realized we lost the zombie horse world. That's sad. And yeah, and Henry didn't like Edwin's improved designs. And also Edwin, yeah, like even you said, like, one of the core plot points is that Edwin is not always correct about his statements. He tends to get ahead of himself when he's like, I made this amazing thing! And then it doesn't usually pan out very well. He just got so excited that he could make something that he doesn't really think about the consequences of making it. Yeah, I will say I'm also on team Yona's suits were the springlock models. Because they specifically have, like, how do I phrase it? Like, it specifically fits the timeline of, like, the implied, like, they were nearly finished is what he specifically says. Whereas the trash animatronics, what I ended up calling the proto-trash characters in the TCG, they are clearly nowhere near finished. Am I saying the Mimic was a bad idea? Yes. Yeah. I guess Terminator was out in 1979. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I think... No, it was, I think. Or it's like 1980 something, really early on. I'm pretty sure there might have been Terminator at this point. But, very clearly, Mimic was not a good idea. Okay, we have plenty of material. So let me see, how much can I make? I still have to go down there to get, but I can make a lot more. Okay. No room for stick-based failure now. Lava. I could even make the portal if I really wanted. I might have kept... I should have kept the eggs, actually. I could have used those against the health towers. I don't think they retconned Henry creating the classic animatronics at all. The whole point is that they didn't end up using Edwin's stuff. Edwin, like, the whole point is Edwin wanted to make the new stuff and he failed to. And that was, like, a corporate scheme on Afton's part. Because he wanted access to the more interesting tech like the Mimic. It's not like a retcon at all. Like, the statement still stands. No, they did steal stuff from Edwin. I don't think they stole specifically. Like, there weren't animatronics to steal. They were unfinished. They were destroyed trash in the shape of characters. Clearly, someone had to finish them. I can hear small fireworks popping off in the distance, so we're almost there. I don't know what Henry's deal is. It sounds like he's a Fazbear person from how Edwin talks about him. Because he has the ability to approve or deny designs, which doesn't sound like some random person in Edwin's company. Eggs can destroy crystals, right? No, like I said, someone had to finish the proto trash no matter what. Even if those are meant to be the FNAF 1 animatronics in an earlier state, they are so hilariously broken and unfinished and are clearly supposed to kind of represent Edwin's mania and kind of delusionment. That like I said, someone had to finish them. Like that happened somewhere at some point in the storyline. So yeah, I don't interpret that as a retcon. I think that's just like showing potentially why Henry made them. Maybe like it's kind of depending on what you. I will say it's like it is kind of one of those feels like it's a little up into interpretation. What? No, wait. Come on. I guess make a new stone axe. Old one be gone. I need this. Guess I'll put that away. Okay, I want to go down and get those diamonds. I also want... Yeah, I wouldn't say... Like I said, I'm on team the spring lock prototypes are Fiona's design, because that fits a little bit better with how he describes I don't like the new designs, like what was wrong with the old ones, they were almost done. Which implies to me the proto-trashes are the improved iterations. Or not improved, the Fazbear requested iterations. Wow, I even skill tricked the turn and didn't make it work. Okay. Oh, that was close. That would have been run ended there. Okay, so the diamond should be like anywhere here, right? I also want gold. Obviously, gold's really important for the Nether now. which it would imply to me that the giant Freddy head could have been from really, maybe not any stage of development, but like that could have come later for all we know. It's not New Year for me yet, technically. We still have an hour before New Year's. Well, an hour, a little under an hour. I will also say, if I don't see what the implication would be if it wasn't implying that the scary new designs are what we call the classics, because you have to remember, even the classics are considered scary and creepy. Like, the wizards aren't the only ones considered that. Like, that's often used to prop up, like, the idea that the wizard animatronics are the new signs. And whether they are or aren't, it's like, that's often used as, in my opinion, kind of false evidence, where it's like, that's not... Like, Phone Guy in FNAF 2 says, Fazbear changed them because they thought they were just too creepy in general. I mean, I guess it's a self-fulfilling argument. It's whatever. I shouldn't argue that. People have their mind set up on the whole thing. It's part of what makes theorizing sometimes really difficult. It's like playing... Oh, wow, it's more diamonds. It's like playing an entirely different game sometimes in terms of discussion with people. Like, what's even possible evidence is different from person to person sometimes. Like, if you already believe... Come on. Don't lag on me now. If you already believe the wizards are the classics or whatever the fuck, and you're not gonna be convinced otherwise. Come on. Get these annoying lag spikes every now and then. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know if it's the live stream or what, but it happens even when I'm not streaming. I've completely lost track of what I'm saying, even. Yeah, William and Henry are the prototype designs. Them as people. That's it. Yeah, that's another good point. It's like, they are characters who are protagonists of a horror game. Every iteration should be considered kind of creepy, except the toy animatronics, who are canonically meant to be more kid-friendly, supposedly. But every other design, they're meant to be kind of creepy. I mean, except the Glamrocks, but they're also, like... That's part of the whole, like, they're trying to avoid the mistakes of the past, but that even hinges on them being scary in the first place. Finding great amounts of gold. I have no clue how to get the hell out of here, though. I mean, I do need to kind of, like, endlessly collect resources, though. What do I even use some of this for? So I don't... That looks like it might have a way out, or at least more gold. I want to get as much gold as possible. That can save so much time and get me so much equipment in the Nether. I will say, I'm really glad they overhauled cave design. I think that was the biggest thing that needed touch-ups in the game, and they really did so. I personally would argue I'm not particularly convinced of the David argument for the crying child's name. Or Dave, specifically. Not even David, it's Dave. And it's not even just like that I don't like the name, it's that the steps taken, like, they're believable-ish, but they're also, I feel like it doesn't feel like a logical puzzle by comparison. It feels like a way to just apply things together until it makes sense. Like, compared to Cassidy, which feels like a very designed, planned out order of events, it's like, it feels like you're kind of mashing two things together that happen to get an answer that's plausible enough. I'd also have to double check that it's in page order or not. I don't think I've checked that. Evad backwards, yeah. Because remember, it's not about getting answers in the first place. It's about getting answers that feel like they solve and finish the logbook, which I argue it doesn't. If you're going to say, for example, the tally marks have no connection to the name, you better tell me what the hell the tally marks are then, and what they solve or conclude. And I feel like the explanation the Evad Dave answer gives to the tally marks is incredibly unsatisfying. Okay. I mean, more diamonds, that's cool, but I feel like I'm gonna die and be trapped down here at this rate. I mean, 7 diamonds. That's at least a sword, an enchantment table, and a pickaxe. So I think I'm going for just build up now. This rate. I feel like I have most of the equipment I want. Do I prefer Dave or Evan? I'm not sure I really like either. I think I would have to go with Evan if I had to pick one of the two. I just like it a little bit more. Adam as a name, that wouldn't be that bad. One thing I've always liked, that's a possibility, and I don't think this is the case, to be clear. I would love if the crying child's name was something like Billy. Because I like the idea of William naming a kid after himself, and that being the kid who ends up being killed by Michael. There's something that just feels fitting about how much of a kick to Afton's ego that would be. That his oldest son kills not only his younger son, but the one that's named after him. It does also fit some of the theoretical applications of the tally marks. That was a scary cave sound. Like, yeah, William Afton Jr., like something like that as like the full name. I don't know. There's something almost like upsetting. Oh, that. So we're right near the Amethyst Geo towards the start. Let me get more. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. Let me get more coal. I have a decent amount, but also I think I burned through a lot of it up smelting. Let's see. This should... Or not. Whatever. I can still start mining upwards. If my victim's name was Andrew, I think that the fan... There's a few things I think that would make the fan base, like, completely melt and lose its shit. That's definitely one of them. I think a few of the things that would brick the fandom for a bit would be if Cassidy was ever confirmed to be a boy, Charlie was ever confirmed to not die in 1983, or if any character we thought we knew the name of was actually Andrew the whole time. Any of those possibilities, I think, would, like, just completely fuck with the fandom. And how theorists perceive almost everything. I think a lot of... I think a lot of theorizing is based on, like, each of those core, like, assumptions. And I think if you remove those assumptions, a lot of things would break. Maybe not even for the worse, it would just imply the I think in particular okay, so that's where I need to go. I think in particular a lot of, like, the novel theorizing centric fans would completely fucking melt if that all happened. Glamrock MCI. I'm not even sure how chronologically that would work. I don't know about, like, Trisha or anything like that, or, like, any of the random characters kind of mentioned Secret the Mimic. Yeah, I was gonna say I just don't know. Like, it feels like it's... I would have to, like, review it all again. Kind of figure out what the implication even is. Been rewatching some of My Hero Academia to connect up, like, to catch back up for the new season, because I've been kind of curious. I kind of stopped watching because I sometimes don't finish shows or, like, don't get into shows if I hear they have particularly bad or hated endings. Like, I've never watched Game of Thrones for that reason. I've never felt like investing a lot of time into a show just to know there basically is no ending to it that's worth it. Not that the ending dictates the quality of a show, but just to know it's like you're if you in the case of stuff like My Hero Academia, not every part of it's great, you know. Like it's a show that has its ups and downs. Um so it's like, well, if I've ever seen most of it and I know most of the journey and then the ending isn't like particularly worth it, I wouldn't see why I would want to even bother with the ending if the ending isn't good. Like I've seen the good parts of it, so why keep going? Was kind of my thought process. Apparently though, the anime ending and the extended ending are a bit better. So if it, I don't even know if the ending's aired yet, but I already know that I think they're doing like extended material or whatever, which might make it a bit more worth it. Did I never get string? I assumed I had gotten string by this point. Do I not even have gravel? Huh. I mean, it can't be that hard to find gravel. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I feel like that with the whole like Trisha staff bot and nanny connections, where it feels like it's a cool idea, but it feels a little not pointless, but like it feels like a little bit of a reach given it's like one or two things to imply from that. I've been very weird with my gravel luck. I feel like if I'm ever trying to specifically get flint out of like one piece of gravel, it's very slow and unlikely I get flint. But if I'm just randomly breaking gravel, I feel like I get flint a lot. Okay, I've decided that piece of gravel is cursed, and I will refuse to elaborate or justify my thoughts on that. Okay, there we go. I guess I'll keep breaking it because okay, yeah. Because I do need a lot of arrows at some point. Start cooking that. And I need to kill time while this stuff smelts anyway. Leather, eggs, raw chicken, I don't really need. Coal, I'll always keep some. Building blocks are always good. Cobblestone's always good. Bucket, we won't really need going to the nether. Let me, just because we're right next to a lava pool, let me quickly, like, fill this over. Because there's... for multiple reasons I want to do this. I've already created my portal, I don't need another one. And theoretically I can make a pickaxe if I want. I just don't want to run into it when I escape the nether. God, Minecraft music's so great. But like I said, because My Hero's the new ending is getting some decent praise, or at least people saying it's better than the manga ending, I feel like I will end up sticking through it to the end. It was a big... I'm not gonna say anime from my childhood, more like my teen years. Kind of childhood, kind of in that weird middle ground. You know, it's something I think I've reflected upon, like, I've gotten past the "ooh, my hero bad" phase of like mentality that plagued the world for a bit. I think a lot of people really have. Um, though I will say that it feels like it's very common for popular thing to become like the subject of hate from the internet for a while. Like, I feel like everything gets that phase. Ultimate custom night sequence is called Your Own. I think there's two interpretations I could think of that for what Your Own could mean. The first is if we remember that it leads to Happiest Day in FNAF World, then it would be Your Own Happiest Day. If Your Own could also be like, you know, the term Your Own can mean like family members or like things related to you, other members of your kin. So Your Own could also mean, well, that was fast. Whoa, this is a great spawn. Holy shit. This might be like one of the best nether spawns I've ever seen. Okay. Let's always mark off the portal. That was weird. Are you kidding me? I didn't even know you could bring... Wow. I didn't know you could bring up F3 outside of... 12? I was thrown off by the lag spike. That really messed with me. I didn't know what to do, like I couldn't react in time. Well, new world. This is part of why I try to be a little hasty with my playthroughs. It's like, it could all end in just such bullshit so suddenly. The seed is saved. I can check that any other time. Yeah, okay. Let's get the pickaxe, get an axe, and all that stuff. But, come on, Minecraft, don't lag on me on this. I'm gonna be very hasty and fast with this one. I want to reclaim the time I feel like I lost playing it safe with the last world. Also, like, learn from the mistakes, because if I just had all my resources from the start that last run, I would have been a lot faster. Really loves this like acacia biome stuff today. I feel like I get this kind of world a lot. Minecraft movie was such a weird thing to blip into reality. I still don't really know how to feel about its existence. I think it could end up being a Sonic situation where it could actually become good with more time into itself. Because it feels kind of like a parody movie. Like, I feel like it's trying to be weird, silly nonsense, and I think it does a deceptively good job at that. Like, I feel like it was made to be a meme kind of movie. Like, they realized they couldn't really make a, or maybe not couldn't, but that like they weren't going to be able to, or they weren't going to make like a serious big movie, and that might not have been a good representation of Minecraft either. I think my biggest complaint is that it wasn't animated. That the non animated look of it kind of bothers me. I don't really know what the hell's going on with William Sprite, to be honest. It's just one of those weird looking images. I also like the new mob variants. I like the attempt to try and like diversify the design scheme of Minecraft a little bit. I mean, on one hand, it's like kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. Like, the more they change Minecraft, the less it feels like that kind of nostalgic centerpiece game, you know? Like, it feels aggressively so different that it's like, oh, is this even Minecraft anymore? But also, like, I would be lying if a lot of these changes weren't good things for, like, Minecraft as a game. Villages over there. Yeah, I assume the Mimic only puts people in costumes because of what it says at the end, where it likes to it's almost pairing actors with characters. It sounds like where it says where like M1 slash like fake dispatch is even like, I wonder who will put you into this time. Are you at this type? Are you at this type? Etc. Like, it goes on like a whole rant about like what it's, how M2 thinks and how it pairs characters together. So I think it just likes associating people with costumes and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I feel like theories that aim to remove characters are maybe my least favorite genre of like FNAF theorizing. It doesn't feel, I guess, productive, for lack of a better term. It feels, maybe the exception I would say to this is theorizing whether Andrew exists or not, but even that's more like, Andrew exists because of a theory himself, or kind of debate, or I should say a continuity itself. That and we're debating on whether he carries over between continuities or not, because he's only exists in that continuity, and debatably, not everything from that continuity carries over. I say debatably, because there's stuff like Susie, whose name seems to carry over, and William is William in both continuities. But I'd argue Hudson doesn't exist in the game continuity. There's no way to fit him there. Because you could say he's the Frights Guard, but by the logic of his story, the Frights Guard has to be someone who has fears or trauma associated with the Freddy's characters. because that's what Hudson is tormented by. Um, or that's what the Hudson is tormented by the trauma associated with his dad and abusive family. So that's what his phantoms primarily are. He does hallucinate being grabbed by like Chica once, I think, but like his Springtrap almost never moves. He's more just kind of delusional in general. So like by the so to me, like, it feels like Frights can introduce characters who exist in their own context that might not be the same. I don't know if I would say they're parallels as much as they are like characters who exist to explain a concept regardless of what the original character in the story was. Like, to me, Hudson exists to explain what the Phantoms are in a short story and has no basis or like, even saying he's a parallel to Mike I don't think makes much sense. I would just say like he's the Frights guard of his world, and how the Fazbear Fright storyline, or how the Fazbear's Fright storyline works, is they are someone who is tormented by their past trauma attacking them now. Um, you know, I would say I think Mike Schmidt would just be. I, honestly, I would argue even in the context of FNAF 1, there's like an argument to that. I guess he could be the killer. There is like a killer's always return to the scene of the crime kind of premise to play with there. But I would argue like it's just like it's kind of hard to tell in context. Like, I would just say like we don't know enough to really like make a strong case. Um, I feel like FNAF 3 is really when you start getting like the identity of Mike more strongly implied. Because the Frights guard is like, even the description of the guard from FNAF 3 doesn't really fit Hudson particularly well. Because Phone Dude makes it sound like the Frights guard was kind of there for a purpose, or threatened to leave on the grounds that something wasn't happening they wanted, or that it wasn't very interesting or something like that, and had to be like convinced to stay. Whereas Hudson is like the opposite. He feels like he has to stay there no matter what because it's the only place willing to give him a job right now. Yeah, I could see the "it's me" without any other context implying the killer connection. I could see that. I think Mappa was kind of crazy with the Chuck E. Cheese death. Like, I see the parallel in his own head, but it's very clearly a relic of early game theory in that regard. Like, early game theory is much more centered around connecting things to the real world. So I would argue that was purely like an early kind of pilot syndrome-esque uh quirk of the series being just too new at that point. Uh, like we just didn't have enough to say otherwise. Like, yeah, I would also say it's a little too depressing and like real of a story, you know, to like bring into things. It's not like with Petscop where it's like it was clearly like Petscop was clearly referencing the Newmaker family. I guess those are just pig noises. I thought those were piglin noises, and I'm like, what the hell? Okay, I'm gonna cut this off here and just wait for a better time. I have enough food now. I need more iron. 22 minutes until New Year's. Let's see if I can get to the Nether in that time. I feel like even if FNAF was inspired by those incidents, I don't think that explains really the game very well. It feels a little unnecessary. And it doesn't even fit like the educational purpose very well. Like, I would argue describing a homicide doesn't do a good job of educating people in anything very well, which is like, to me, is like the biggest defense of like the scientific game theory stuff. Is like, oh, they're trying to teach you about how things work. So as long as they get the science vaguely right, or at least teach you how something works, I can defend a lot of game theory stuff. I didn't mean to place that. I meant to hold up my shield. There you are. However, that one I can't excuse in that way because, like, it's not... It's just teaching you about a really horrific murder incident. And it's not summarizing the lore for that connection. So it just doesn't feel to me like a very... Neither a satisfying thing to include in the video, or a thing that should have been included in the video, really. It feels just in bad taste. Especially compared to like what the series would kind of go on to be. Where did I put the crafting table? Yeah. But it is what it is. It happened and we're past it. And I don't think Matt meant anything bad about it. I think he was just thinking like, oh, this is a real world thing. I can connect to it. This is how the channel works at this point in time. Yeah, and it's also, it's like the only similarity between them is that they involve 5 people and a pizzeria. Yeah, I guess I would just say, like, it feels like a sketchy theory for a first episode, but it also is the first episode. And just is a product of a different point in game theory's history. Like, that theory video wouldn't exist today, for example. Like, even if FNAF just came out, and we assume that something else filled the gap and like, kind of, does what FNAF does for game theory to get it to the same point, it wouldn't have happened again, like, now. Um, like, almost certainly. Okay, pants. Almost through the basics of my equipment. Now let me try and find a way to get down there. Now, I would also argue that game theory wouldn't exist as we think of it without that first episode. Well, more specifically, it wouldn't exist as we think of it without... Come on. God damn it. Knew it was a gamble. I shouldn't have done it. Petscop's inspired by something real. Specifically, like, the names of the characters are references to a real, like, abusive scenario. It's not really that it's like an adaptation of real events. It's more just like it served to inspire the tone and like the characters and the kind of like and all that. It's not really like it's not even like the same thing as like what MatPat was implying FNAF was with the Chuck E. Cheese incident. It's just like, wow, this is an interesting thing to name the characters after for like I'm trying to think of what a good example would be. It'd be like if you made a creepy girl and named her Carrie and all that. Or like Amazing World of Gumball is a good example almost. A more silly example of like Carrie is named after, is it The Ring? What is? I don't remember what Carrie's from, but I know it's Stephen King. I just don't remember what specific thing it is. But anyway, it's like that name is a reference to Carrie as a character, and it's like thematically appropriate because she's a ghost and all that, and she's spooky. I mean, it's just going to get really depressing to describe the story of the real story that's inspired by Petscop, but to put it in like simple terms, basically, a parent adopted a kid, was kind of had a very specific vision in their head of what having the kid would be like, and didn't feel like they were really the parent of the kid, so they were like, whoa, we're going to try this weird experimental therapy where we simulate you being born again with like basically smothering in blankets and all that, and they end up suffocating the kid, trying to like psychologically manipulate her into thinking she was really being born again as part of the family. Just very weird psychotic stuff, which is thematically appropriate for the kind of abuse that Marvin and Petscop causes Care and Belle/Tiara and other people to go through. I'm putting it in very fast terms to intentionally like not get into how dark it really was. But assuming that's lava over there. I know that how distant horizons, the mod that allows me to get good render distance, works. It does level of detail stuff, so that orange blob is probably lava. Is there any food things anywhere? Good news is if I find anything for Abigail. Yeah, the New Maker story Like the real life one's real depressing. Um, I will say, well, you could argue stuff about like Petscop's storytelling quality. I really like the vibes of that series. Not in like a, oh, it's so cool and fun, child manipulation and abuse. I just mean like the creepy feel. It's like a good horror movie or series where it's just like, ugh. But in a way that feels, I guess for lack of a better term, satisfying. Like it's so good at conveying the creepy moments, even if you can argue the story itself wasn't written out particularly well, or planned or whatever the hell. Uh, but like I still think one of my favorite horror moments I've ever seen in a series of all time is it's when in one of the later episodes, um, Paul, controlling his little goober character, gets hit by a car in one scene. In game, not like in real life. Paul being the player of the game Petscop. If you're not really familiar with it. And his character gets hit by a car and he just loses control over the game, basically. And he's just stuck frozen on the scene where he got hit by a car. And then Belle slash Tiara, one of the characters in the game who might be correlated to a real person, she's interchangeably referred to as Belle and Tiara throughout the series because of the whole like rebirthing premise. I don't remember which name is her original and which one was. I think her original name was Tiara Newmaker, and Belle is like the name Marvin gives her. I don't remember which. But anyway, she appears on screen and she keeps shifting the player models, her own player models' eyes to the side to try and get Paul to look at something. And Paul is very aware that she's trying to point him at something, but he's just like, what do you want me to do? I can't control the game. I can't do anything. So there's just something horrible off screen she's looking at in game that she really needs to show Paul, but he can't observe or identify. And it's just very successfully like upsetting and depressing. Or not even depressing, just upsetting. It's just like, what's there? What is she so freaked out about? Considering that she seems to be obviously like a victim of abuse, but also like one of the people who has a better grasp on how the Petscop world works. Yeah, the player character is later called Guardian, but in the first few episodes, there's text that says "You are Newmaker," which I later is clarified to be the last name. I think it's Paul Newmaker is his name, or at least Tiara's name is Newmaker. So a lot of people called the character Newmaker before we got Guardian as the official name of the player goober. Yeah, I'm talking about Petscop a little bit. Like I said, for the ups and downs of the series and it's really convey its concepts, I still really like it. I would say another series that really stands out to me, and I would completely advise anyone watching this to just like binge. Because I'm pretty sure you can find a playlist of this. Assuming you don't want to play it yourself, it's a little esoteric of a game to play, so it might be better to watch. But the Don't Sleep, or not Don't Sleep, the Don't Escape and the Deep Sleep series by Scriptwalder, are great games. They are some of the most influential point and click games to me of all time. Like, I would argue they have more of an effect on me in some ways than Five Nights at Freddy's does as a horror point and click from 2014. I mean, not all the games are from 2014, but some of them are. I think they might be one of my favorite series of all time. Oh, that's not good. Um, they're just they just have like this feel to them that's kind of irreplaceable and like nothing quite matches. Um, I like truly can't describe how special they are to me in many regards. You'll notice that in a lot of my designs for characters I haven't even shown very well yet in projects, I'm a really big fan of the motif of a pure black body with just white eyes peering at you, and maybe some other details like that. Um, Deep Sleep is where I got that design scheme concept from. Like, that's what inspired that visual quirk. I don't remember what they're even called in Deep Sleep, like the creatures that look like that. But like the kind of explained lore of them later on in, I think, Deep Sleep 3. Markiplier is a really good playthrough of these. That's what I was trying to get at. It's like, if you want to watch a playthrough or learn what the hell I'm talking about, I would really recommend the Markiplier playthrough of it all. But, oop, it's midnight, or it's a minute away. Um, give a second. Happy New Year! Alright. Yeah, it officially just became 12 over here on the West Coast. But, as I was saying, it's one of the most influential and, like, kind of important series to me. I want to watch it again soon. Like, I haven't watched it in a bit, but it just has stuck with me very well. Very fondly. Um, but the creature design in that, even like the way the story is written and presented in those is so atmospheric and engaging and kind of special feeling in a way that's like a little hard to put into words. Yeah, it's Don't Escape 4 kind of acts as the end to both. It's called Don't Escape 4 because it's more of a sequel to Don't Escape than Deep Sleep, but it is in many regards also part of the Deep Sleep storyline. It serves a lot to explain the premise of Deep Sleep as a concept. The kind of core premise of Deep Sleep, if I were to try and explain it, and how its like mechanics work, is the idea that while you're asleep and dreaming, you're kind of detached from reality in a way. Like, your sense of self and space is distorted, which creates openings for you to see things that you physically couldn't see, including that of other realities. As well as things in your reality. So, how Don't Escape 4 kind of plays with it is there's a company that figures out they can use this to basically get endless backups of like they figure out that's like if comatose people, since they're permanently trapped in that kind of ethereal sleep state, since their kind of consciousness is removed from them in that time frame, they start selling cures where they're like, oh, see your friends and family come back to life, when in reality they just are like, oh, we can just download consciousness from our older, like rich people who just want to be young again will just download their consciousness into those bodies while their souls are basically missing. It's kind of, or like their core consciousness more accurately. And then those older people can just like either hijack their bodies and kind of run away with it forever, or if they really want, and there's like they even explain like the whole conspiracy of this. Like they can pretend to be the old people, commit to the bit, get a new life and all that. Though it's often just an excuse for them to be younger and healthier again. It's very sci-fi in that skew, but most of the series isn't dedicated to that. Most of it's more surreal and supernatural, because it is a supernatural premise. It's kind of like how FNAF does it, where it's like, yeah, there's Remnant, but Remnant just exists as a way to explain how someone observed a supernatural process and tried to use it to their own benefit. Which I kind of like. I feel like that's a good way to do both, is like, if something is provable, if there are hard set rules for why certain things exist, or at least it's recursive enough that you can prove it happens multiple times, such as a world where ghosts exist, you could definitely try to make a scientific assumption and connections and all that based on what you can prove overlaps and recurs. However, there are obviously going to be, like, I feel like as long as you acknowledge there's something unethical or limiting about tampering with the supernatural with scientific means, I think it works. At least on some level. It could always be done better or worse or whatever. But, like, the idea of a company realizing this supernatural concept and, like, how can we sell this? I think is such a weirdly realistic concept. Like, could you imagine if, like, a debt collection agency learned ghosts exist? And that they could, like, curse someone to be forced to pay them back? It would be horrible. Like, basically every company would have, like, the Maleficent thing where it's like, I was snubbed minorly and now will ruin your life and existence for it with my sorcery. I think the biggest thing that messed up Remnant wasn't even the concept itself, it was how fans tried to explain it. Like, this is, I think, a double-edged sword that MatPat shouldn't have done. Is he did this a lot, where, and I say MatPat because this wasn't even a Tom thing. Like, this was pre-Tom, so this was when it was just written by MatPat, passing it around with his editors and stuff. He really liked to make a gag around anything that was kind of weird or confusing in FNAF. And because Remnant was sort of insane sounding at the time, he made a big deal out of it being so weird and wacky, and then that led to it becoming like a gag and a thing. Like, now it became a thing that Remnant was wacky and weird and you couldn't understand it and it didn't make sense or whatever. Like, that became the joke. But then, sometimes when a joke is played enough times, people start taking it a little too seriously, and it kind of kills the value of the premise some. Like, it became a joke that Remnant was such a weird, hard to understand concept, and it's literally just haunted metal. It's literally just saying it's like, wow, if you if the idea is a spirit is haunting this thing, well, what happens if we take a chunk of this haunted thing and put it somewhere else? That's all the concept is. It's a pretty straightforward premise. Like, even the first game, like, kind of talked about that idea with the autobiography of a yogi stuff, which I know some people say it's like, oh, Scott didn't actually know about the context of that monologue or whatever, and I don't personally believe that. It's such a random audio excerpt to grab. But I find it a little hard to believe that it wasn't at least somewhat intentional. But especially when it talks about the idea of metal having like a memory of tragedy and all that, and especially when it talks about like the idea of corporations building things that are on one hand like marvelous and impressive, but also kind of scary in terms of how much they build over things and all that. Um, Honestly, if Remnant was just called something like haunted material at first, and then if there was just like one moment in the games where like Afton was like, I've observed that haunted material has transferrative properties where if it's moved into a new movable, controllable vessel, it will do everything in its power to continue to exist. I will call like this remnant of one soul remnant or something like that. Like it's just something like along those lines. It doesn't have to be. It could obviously be more polished than what I just said. Um, like I think a lot of people would have understand the premise much quicker and made fun of it a lot less. Um, I think it purely is like a victim of whatchamacallit. Like I guess scope creep of like the fandom. It started so simple that when new ideas were kind of introduced that were more complicated and were kind of surreal sound, like it does not help that a lot of this was first properly introduced to people in the form of uh the Fourth Closet, which is such an insane storyline. If you like, if you really think about like what Fourth Closet is about, it's maybe one of the highs for the series getting very strange with how it operates compared to what was prior. I stand by the Robot Kid plotline. While I totally understand what it was going for, and I even think there are a lot of actually pretty good merits around it. I stand by it's one of like the hardest things to kind of sell as an addition to the lore, that it is possible to make androids who are near perfect human copies and can on some level even seem to have a soul. Okay, so here's a crossroad I'm a little split at. I think I'll do it real quick just to like test the waters. Do I go back for food or not is what I'm really split on. If we spawn in a red forest in the nether, this lava pool here, I'll... I think I'll just, like, try to use that to get the food and all that. I like the bat redesign, honestly. I know a lot of the redesigns in Minecraft are controversial, but the bats are to me, one of the best updates. Because, like, I feel like if we get a good spawn in the nether, we can just kind of run through it quickly without having to worry about it too much. God damn it. Do I just bite the bullet and make the diamond sword? In fact, I think I bite the bullet and just make the pickaxe. This might be the safer option, really. Let me grab this. I'm usually not a big fan of spend diamonds on the pickaxe, because, I mean, it's just one of those to me of, like, if you don't need to do it, why would you? But the food problem really... Like, I'll make a quick portal here, but if it's not, like, immediately a good spawn, I don't really want to... spend my time on this. Like, I might as well just collect... Oh, there's more diamonds there. Oops. Well, shit. Okay, well. Let me grab water from, here. And more diamonds. Okay, well. Now I feel less bad. Do want to get more iron, though. I feel like iron is something you can almost never have too much of. Oh. Actually, let me, now that I've... Ooh. That was lag. Okay. So I've had several diamonds. I was about to say I can make an enchantment table, but I actually can't. Let me get enough for a helmet real quick. Make that. All right. Let's quickly fire off into the nether, see where we are. I wouldn't mind if actual David ended up becoming the Blob. I just want to know why the hell he looks like Funtime Freddy. Come on. Let me kill a few birds with one stone while I'm doing this. Actually, let me not even use that. Oh, more wow, there's a lot. There's a lot of diamonds here. I don't even know what to use all this for. I don't have any, like, leather yet. I mean, it's not that far to the surface, like, relatively, honestly, so... There we go. Okay. Have I always had a flint? Or did I get two there? Okay, if this is something I want to stick into a bit longer... I might just like, keep most of this inventory, honestly. I don't have... So, drop the bed. You know what? Let me do something a little out of character for myself, but might be a safe option. Let me get enough for a portal that I could build in there, so I could escape anytime I wanted. Plus 4 for an enchantment table if I ever want to do it. The only problem with the enchantment table is I would have to get leather in the nether. Because I'm severely under-equipped right now. Alright. Let me just check what my spawn is in the nether, even. Let me... I know I'm kind of half-assing it, but... Wastes... Yeah, okay, there's a red forest over there, so... I mean, I still think... Yeah, okay, I think I'll do a compromise strategy where... I'll get enough for a portal down here. I'll keep, like, my good equipment. Stuff I just don't want in general. Like, I genuinely have, like, no use for. Bowl's not even that bad thing to carry in the nether. I mean, I'm not... This isn't exactly an efficient inventory. But I argue it could be worse. Especially if I'm planning to just leave and not really come back here. But yeah, I think we build over to the Red Forest. And then, let's see, so it's 10 for a portal. So we want 14 for... I wouldn't mind if David becomes, like, the Golden Freddy of the Security Breach era, but I also would argue characters don't need to be counterparts like that. I also wouldn't mind if it was just forever a mystery or forever an implication that David was still there, but just is kind of going to be forgotten, left behind. Like, there's something kind of sad and tragic about that. Like, wasn't it one of the creators' posts, like one of the directors at Steel Wool, who said, like, sometimes the good men do is buried and only the evil is left behind. I kind of like that premise of, like, there was a chance for Edwin to reunite with David, but he'll never get it because of the Mimic. Like, he kind of robbed himself of that closure. Like, there's something sort of depressingly fitting about that. See, I'm not even really going to mark this portal. Now, start collecting gold. I will say, I think the Nether update's one of the best additions to the game, minus how hard it made fortresses to find. Ooh. Goody. Let me not sprint. I don't know why I'm... Oh. Huh. That was neat. Let's see, anything over there that I care about? Fortress. There's a warp biome over there, but there's also one that way. I need to be careful about running. My biggest concern is God damn it. Is running out of food or dying to a Zoglin or Hoglin? Is that what they are? I think a Zoglin is the zombie Hoglin. Anyway, I think a Hoglin killing me is one of the biggest threats, but it's also what I kind of need in a weird way. Is there a way I can, like, get over there? I guess I can build over and then boat down. Kind of scary, but... Oh, it's cool that they kind of teach you about riding those guys through the mount. It'd be very funny if wood just naturally caught fire from, like, nothing in the Nether. Like, it's a material that just cannot even exist here. Be nice little bit of flavor. Real good thing that riding a boat for some reason negates fall damage. Gotta love World of Minecraft sometimes. Let me get you. I get myself building blocks. Buddy. I'm not too worried about running out of wood, though, I will say, because there is the forest right there. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in that you can't craft. I think they made it so you could survive in the Nether as if this was, like, your first spawn, right? Wasn't that, like, one of the big pushes they had was to, like, fill every requirement, basically? String, I need more string than that. I need more obsidian than that. If you could pay me in food, that'd be really good. Fire potion's nice, I need food. Okay, actually, I do see a food source, but let me... You can keep those. Come on, just something I need to progress the game. Actually, I'll take that. It's building blocks. This is the exact reason I wanted to keep the bowls. Do I not have an axe anymore? Huh. You're far enough away, I think. Wow. How did you even get a chicken here? I was very terrified of this magma for half a second. I thought it was a lava pit, and I was going to just rapidly switch over to the fire resistant potion. That scared me. What do I... Drop a stick, I guess. Keep. I think we keep it down to one stew on hand at a time. I think that's the play. I really wonder what the next, like, plot beat for Cassie even is. Because I'm assuming there's going to be more to her, I just don't know what. Inventory management before I get even a bundle. It's gonna be a total pain. Fuck. Okay. God damn it. Ugh. Okay. Bup, bup, bup. Eat. Bup, bup, bup. Collect more gold. Bup, 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 bup. I have that one piece of button left over, actually. Should probably eat that when I get a chance. Gold. Okay. This gas might just not be worth it. Have freeze inventory space. I am living like entirely off mushrooms. Don't you know, mushrooms have protein, I think. They're like a warp stew. I'm trying to remember. I feel like there's another food thing you can get out of the mushrooms here, but I don't remember. Okay. It's gonna be difficult, but I need to kill at least one of these goobers. Yes, okay. 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 Now I can just start sorting a lot of my miscellaneous... Oh, come on. A lot of my random kind of miscellaneous items I'm not going to be using. We're not going to get more... I might get more arrows. Can't flint steel. Okay. Okay, that's a drastic help. To not have to... And I want to reuse this material. I want to be able to quickly build one of these anytime I want. Freed up a lot of space. And gave me some emergency food. Oh, there's a bastion. I don't really know. I mean, it doesn't get me further in terms of like the main progression, but if I can successfully like infiltrate one of these, I don't think I've ever properly like taken down a bastion. And by that I mean like I don't think I've ever properly like mined through. I just know I don't want them to hit me at all, basically. I want to, like, squirrel my way around. I don't know shit about... okay. Not that way. But I think this will be worth it if I can pull it off. the brutes. So I'm at, like, the entrance. So what I need to do... I need to... This is spooky scary. How do I even grab that without them destroying me? Because they like nearly one-shot, I think. Like I feel like the only way you can really beat the fortress or the bastion is by, like, come on. Okay. I don't even know if this is really worth it. I feel like conceptually it is. I don't know if it is in practice. Okay, let me... Where? Where? If I'm here, where's a chest? Or anything like that. Yeah, because you don't know anything, right? Yeah, you're a normal one. You're not one of those freaks. This genuinely feels like the closest to, like, a Minecraft stealth mission I can imagine. Where are the chests? Isn't that, like, the whole thing here? Okay. Good. Did I just get a really bad spawn or something? I want to make it clear that I know I'm probably doing the Bastion, like, wrong or whatever. Okay, there's a chest. Some speedrunners probably, like... I mean, there's no speedrunners watching this, but... to my knowledge. Hey, buddy. Okay. How do I get this without this guy killing me? Because he's right next to it. And I don't have a bow or, like, okay, I have an idea. We're trading. I demand of you string. I don't mind this iron, but I need this. Okay. So I can get 3 string, or maybe it'd be even just 1. I can't boat him, I just realized. More leather, I'll take that, actually. see, I've got... I can make an enchantment table now. That's actually something worth considering. Gravel, okay. Blackstone, fine. Sub this in. Come on. String. Come on, there's like 40 gold there. Not one string. Like I said, I don't even mind some of this. It's just like not the resources I need to feed. Well, I have enough for multiple portals now. I could always just go in and out of the... Here, let me... Done, and you really gave me no string. Okay. Let's... Sweeping, sharpness. Okay. Unbreaking. Guess let's do unbreaking. Let's just get those like out of the way. Let's see if protection's an option. Yeah, I think I was going to do a basic like little enchantment on. What? Oh, I didn't have my helmet, so he attacked me. Okay. Protection 2. Okay. You aren't going to attack me now, are you? No. Okay. Okay, we're good. Kinda. That really scared me. I thought our monster over there. Bonked the shit out of me. Okay, so I'm gonna stick through to my premise somewhat. I think I'm gonna try and trap him with the boat. No! We didn't place the boat! Not placing the boat pissed me off. I felt like I was spam clicking it down and it didn't go. I don't know if that was lag or what. I know that, like, if you're in a radius of mobs too much, it doesn't let you place it down, but, like, I thought I did it in time. Such an annoying way to lose after all that. I think I'll stop here. I think, you know, I want... Okay, let me check what the new world is. Let me check World 14. if 14 is like a good spawn, like in a village or something like that, and all that. Um, if I can. Hmm. More information needed. This is not like a super great spawn. I don't know. I'll give this world like a little bit of time, and if I feel like I'm on a good roll with it, I'll move forward with it. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. My guess is the entities were too mashed up or whatever. I might have been too close to it too, is another thing. What really messed me up is I didn't know his aggro range exactly. I couldn't tell how close I could get. Boop. Boop. Okay, let's... Like, there's good resources here already, which might help. This one I'm going to try and do as fast as possible. Like, I'm just going to give this world, like, basically no chance. Like, we're just going to do it faster and faster each time. Which is kind of part of the reason I got into doing hardcore playthroughs. I was really fascinated with the idea of playing the game like fast and like loose and kind of in the most like difficult way you really can. It's very both interesting and aggravating. It's maybe the most and least fun I've had with Minecraft. Need a food source. Come on, like wolves, something. I can't eat wolves. I was like, come on, sheep, something. Ugh. Come on, you're a natural killing machine. Why don't you have anything food? Ugh. Oh. No, can you eat tropical fish in this? I feel like you can't. I know you can eat, cod, though. This doesn't really feel like it's worth it, food source-wise. Because all those are just tropical fish, and those give you, like, no hunger if they do. For some reason, I have it in my head. So I'm assuming I had this in some prior experience. That it was really not worth it going after a lot of the deep sea fish compared to salmon. But those pigs over there, what am I looking at? Armadillos? Well, we're getting a lot of iron. It might be possible to do this without, like... If I can just find some food source, and, like, a lava pool, I might not even have to go cave diving. And generally, you can find pretty good lava sources in desert biomes. Okay. If I remember correctly, there should be more iron stuff here, and then there is a cave here. But I have no food, and I don't see anything that's like a chest or something that could get me food. Grab at least, let me sugarcane in the event. I find diamonds. Make an enchantment table, and there's a village. Okay, so yeah, this run's viable. It didn't look like it at the start, but yeah, this can work. Bip. So yeah, we'll run this world. It shouldn't take that long. All I'm really looking for now is the rest of the iron I need. And bed. It's useful. There we go. That's something good. Bip. Bip. Switching up beds. I like the teal one more. Or the cyan more. Okay. Okay. Bip. Dip. Jump. Now we do this. Stitch. Stitch. Do I get more wood? I actually think I do. I'm a little worried about running out in the nether. So I'll collect a little extra. And we have 2 bundles, so I'm not really worried about, like, diverse material pool. Yeah, that's why I was remembering about tropical fishes. They do almost nothing. 40 bread should cover me most of the playthrough. Some brewing standard? Something like that. Something at the top for this suspiciously large structure. Yes, and a 3rd bundle. Hey. Okay. Like I said, I just kind of want to speed blitz this round a bit. Go back to our little cave here and just keep like pushing forward with this. I mean, in theory, if I play fast enough, I won't lose the hunger in the first place. You guys shoot each other? That was very close. A lot of gold. Not a lot of iron. I mean, some iron. Still lacking a major lava pool. Let me actually, while I'm on the surface, grab water. I don't think that's... okay. Yeah, that actually might be very... wrong thing. Honestly, the immense amount of gold might be very useful for this particular run-through. Whatever my main building material will be. I swear I just saw gold in it, like, blinked out of reality. Where the hell? There it is. Honestly, yeah, if we can just kind of skip the normal grind of the nether with gold and get a good fortress spawn, the food limitation won't even be a problem. In fact, I am willing to bet this run on it. I kind of wish there was more iron veins proper, but whatever. Every piece of gold I see is being collected if it's not too much of a hassle. Because this is the run. I've decided. I am just committing to the idea this is the run. Not going to even question it. I don't know why I did that. So it's a bad idea. And we use... I mean... I can just get enough iron and have the armor. I should be good. Favorite FNAF fan game? It would either be... I'd have to play through it again. Super FNAF is pretty high up there. I really like it as kind of a self-contained snapshot interpretation of the lore. You know, it's not like the most lore accurate, and there's some very fan... I think Amazing Digital Circus did like the best way to kind of explain this, where it's like there's a certain over satisfying nature that some things have that make it, that's like part of what makes something feel fan fiction-y is like, and then all 10,000 million warlords appeared and they all fought and it was biggest, the most baddest, the like, battle in history, and it's like it's very like there's a very there's kind of that quality where it's a little too like tied together in a way that doesn't even like make sense. It kind of takes away from things in some ways, but also not. Like I said, it's like a snapshot feel. It's a very specific appeal that I really like. Five Nights at Candy's 3, I also quite, not really from a gameplay perspective, but from the Dreamscape, I think is what it's called. I really like the Dreamscape segments. I think they're some of the best written and like most atmospheric mini games possible, even if they're very obtuse at times. Or esoteric. Like they just expect a lot from you to solve certain puzzles that are really hard. It's very FNAF 3 in terms of how it like. Even FNAF 3 is a little simpler because once you realize like the premise of how a FNAF 3 minigame works, it's not that hard. You just have to find like the thing that looks kind of out of place as like the rule of thumb. I think 3952448 is the only really like how on earth would you ever figure that out part of FNAF 3. Because it's not even like the... If you didn't know you could click on the numbers, I don't know how you would figure 3952448 or on the tiles as numbers. Okay, I mean, I'm finding lava, you know. And that's all good. That's all great. But what I really need to like complete the journey to the Nether is I need a lava pool. Like I needed at least 10 buckets of lava in like one decently collected space. This is a bunch of individuals. They're all scattered and I don't want to have to drag them all everywhere. But I'm committed to it. I believe I can. This is the New Year's. This is the first playthrough. It started, like, entirely after midnight, I think. I think the last one bled over. It went, like, a little bit back and forth. And we have 35 gold, 40 iron. It's not bad at all. I actually made it further in that first, like, live stream I did the other day without diamonds. So it really is all just about, like, do you get the spawn you want or not in the Nether? And I would have made it. That one world was great. Like, the fortress was right there. Okay. Yeah, I think the camera buttons would have made more sense, honestly, for 395-248. I really don't get why the wall tiles were, like, picked. They feel... That feels so much, like, harder to conclude. Okay. I want to peer down this chunk of the cave just to see if there's a lava pool. I'll grab this gold while I'm here. More gold's basically always better in this case. Shields are such a great addition to the game, I'll say, for balance. There's so many times you would die instantly without a shield. I'm not sure how I feel about like how they were incorporated, you know, mechanically. But like, I'm not gonna ignore the useful side of it. I think my biggest gripe with it is it feels like it almost slightly negates the use of armor some, but not to the point where I feel like, oh, you shouldn't get armor anymore. Okay. I think I go back up topside for the world, look for an above ground lava pool. God, do they take 2 hearts? Sun setting. Okay. Okay. Alright. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Lava pool. Mesa. Boat. I would say the statement that FNAF was just about ghost kids the whole time, while it's kind of true, I would say it isn't. Like, the core premise that, yeah, it was about the supernatural has always been true, but I think the biggest change is not, like, the stuff like, oh, there's dead kids or not. It's more, or like kids haunting things or not. It's the mechanism for why the paranormal things exist. Like, you have to remember, robots and stuff are still paranormal. Like, there's a reason so many old horror movies would have like the morgue's gone wrong or whatever the hell like that. Like that was a thing that was meant to be like unnatural or weird. But it's a different kind, you know. I'm not going to argue it isn't. It's going about the same kind of end result, but a different skew. And I'll agree that I kind of like the older skew a little bit more. I have 3 bundles. I can afford to just stock up on food some. Like I said, I can agree that I kind of like the old skew better. However, I don't think there's much inherently wrong with the new skew. I do agree, however, that I wish it was executed a little bit better. I feel like corporate tampering with... How do I explain this? I feel like the kind of corporate side of FNAF has become more clearly a theme in the flaws of the series. I would say the novels and movie are some of the only timelines where it feels like that concept was sort of ditched. And it's part of what I don't like about the movie and novel universe, even though I actually do like both collectively, but this specific aspect, I feel like the corporate commentary isn't as strong in either. In the game universe, even down to like some of the first phone calls, that like conflict feels like it's there, of like Ralph understanding the real tragedy is there, but only being able to communicate it in like this corporate buzzword speak. Like it's such a great setting for the flaws of this world and how things got this bad and this far. There's a Nautilus. I don't know what Nautiluses do. What is that over there? What am I like looking at there? That's just coral? I think that's just coral. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I want to keep running through the deserts. I don't think there's like a higher spawn rate of lava pools in deserts, per se. But I feel like it's easier to spot them and find them. I would agree that there's something a little bit more interesting about the supernatural, like the true supernatural, like haunted skew. But I also kind of understand feeling like we've done that and trying to say like, oh, but there were more dead kids from a different guy. Feels like it might be a little reductive. Then again, that's already happened with the dead kids, but that's kind of early game weirdness in my opinion. What the hell is this? Is this a village? What is this? Buried treasure map. That's cool. I don't see the X anywhere. I don't really have a use for that. Stone axe. I mean, I'll trade that out for mine. Nautilus armor. Buried treasure map. Let me just do this real quick. No, it's still not showing me. Okay. Come on, there's gotta be a lava pool somewhere. Yeah, the AI commentary aged deceptively well. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there with that little encounter there. I wonder if that was just like a world generation bug. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, I didn't see an X there, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. Where? I just need a lava pool. I really expected to see one much sooner. This run was really on a good pace until I didn't find anything at a certain point. I mean, I'll keep running with it, but I can attack the villager outpost, I guess, get a crossbow. There's things to do. I'm just like trying to figure out how to progress. Come on, really? Something stone over there. That might be a cave entrance, but... Okay, there like obvious lava here? I mean, there's one bucket, but I need 10. That's just random crap in the ground. Are camels like worth it without like a saddle? If I don't have a saddle, do I camel? Can I camel? No, this is just a random chunk of ground. Ugh. Are there even villagers here? Yeah, there are. Okay. That's another one of those where I'm like, is that even worth it, though? Like, I'm just, like, in a state mentally where I'm like, if it doesn't progress anything I'm doing, why stop? Wait, you can actually craft saddles now? Wow. I thought that was a bedrock only thing. Oh, it was probably part of the mounts thing. Is this the same village I was gonna... I'm gonna avoid that village just in case. It is. And if I find a horse, I'll craft it, because that will save me some travel time. Well, it's going to be nighttime soon, which will be sort of a blessing and a curse. Be a blessing because it should highlight the lava pool some that I need. But a curse because I'll have to deal with 10 million skeletons. Really? Nothing? Not a single lava pool for 10 million miles. I really don't want to have to go underground to get one. Or have to craft 10 buckets. Well, here's 2 buckets. I wonder if it's almost worth it to just start collecting, like, every piece of lava I see. Blast furnace anywhere here? Ah. Well, on my way I go. Still looking for a lava pool. And like I said, it'll be a lot easier to find if it's nighttime. But maybe I need to sleep to get to daytime so I can survive. That's scary. You Copper Age demon. This slowed down everything so much. This is a new track. I didn't really process it until now, but definitely is new. Okay, always trying to get more. There it is. I see one. Finally able to progress. And there's horses. Here. That's definitely lava. Okay. Okay. We're not soft locked. We are able to progress the game. I have a ton of bread. We got a lot of food source stuff. I should be able to make a lot of arrows. There's gravel stuff nearby, which I'll start working on, like, farming out while I get everything set up. So, okay. I might even do a third furnace. Just, get through the food built up. Okay. Now, bed here. Chest here. Wall's technically a building block. I think that's it. Or that will work. That will not work. I'll make it work, but damn it. I really screwed this portal up. Okay. Well, there we go. Now, grab a little bit more water, finish this pool off. Come on. Let me start collecting gravel since I have nothing else to do, really. That should be all that. Then we can go on to that. Okay, then that. Actually, let me just... Dude. Equipment made. Done. Portal. Conceal. Done. And let's keep going. Because running out of arrows is what killed the last playthrough. That got to the end, I should say. Not the last playthrough, but the playthrough that would have been. Made it all the way to the end, got all the towers down. The last one, I actually might have won if I got string. Or at least the one where I died to the Piglin Brute, which I think was the last one. I guess I could have made specialized. Ooh. That was good. 2 in a row. I think it's 1 in 16, right, for the gravel? Or something like that. We have 9, we have 14... 15 feathers? Okay, so this is about correct. I wish there was a way to improve the spawn rates of flint and steel. Which I don't think there is. One more? Okay. Okay, great. 60. 62. Okay. Now. This is probably going to be my last attempt, today. I definitely don't think I'm going to go Bastion running again this time, I will say. I think that was one of the biggest goofs I made the last run, was getting greedy. Trying to get more out of the run than I could have. Like, I need to know Bastions more before I try something like that. Okay. Got plenty of iron, but I want that gold to be done. Gold is the real important resource here. And it doesn't look like it's going to be an enchantment table run, so I'm not going to try and farm experience off mobs and stuff. also don't know what I would use leather for particularly in this run, since I already have bundles. And books are only useful if I find diamonds, which is very unlikely. Okay, just a few more. Okay, plenty of food, building blocks, empty bundles, items I don't need. Okay. Got plenty of arrows, even though I can't really use them right now. Craft table unlocked. Okay. Please. Straight into the fortress. Come on. I believe. Come on. Oh, worked isn't that bad. Worked fortress is not that bad. And because I don't have diamond things, I have to write down the... negative 267, 57, 138. Seven, 57. What was it? Okay. Alright. Coordinates are logged. We have a good source of ender pearls now. Hey. Okay. Now I've screenshotted too, just in case.
This is the run. This is it. This is the run. Yes, I believe it is.
This is the run. Diamonds? Whoa!
This is the run. I believe it's so.
I didn't even need all the gold. I've literally got all the requirements as long as I find a spawner. Hear them. You know they're here. 3 hits, right? 3, and I can do that usually before they fire. Let's see, you freaks, that's scary though. Okay, where's the spawner though? I can't believe I called it. My prayers have truly been answered. No! No! This is death. Oh! That's 1 heart. Okay, I'm gonna regenerate to full health. My shield is very low durability. This is very true. I'm not taking my chances on that. that would have killed me there if someone hadn't pointed that out. I am incredibly lucky to be alive. I almost missed a jump there. I'm really freaked out by the immense amount of wither skeletons here. I have better... Oh, I hit one earlier, I guess. Are you kidding me? Come on. Gold, gold. Horse armor. Fine. The wither skeletons are what's really freaking me out here. I feel like they're the real threat of the fortress, honestly. What do I even do with... Hey, saddle. Guess I don't need to craft one if it's just here. More diamonds. I'll swap out iron for that. Okay. No, I want this. I want to get rid of the saddle. Where are you? Oh, you're there. Can't really interact with you there. Not risking falling into that. How do I... That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to hold my shield up. Come on. It's the skeletons that are really freaking me out. It's like... No. I'm taking a bit of executive authority to increase my DPS. I almost would have hit that, and that would have killed me. Keep doing this like instinctively. I want to start building blocks. God, if I just had a bow, I could get rid of the skeletons. No! I didn't know there was one. So I'm done with playthroughs for the night. I didn't know there was one behind me. I want to... Can I not go to the nether while I'm in spectator mode? I want to spectate. Okay, well. That's annoying. I don't see why I can't go into the nether in spectator mode. Well, whatever. It was... like I said, it's the skeletons. They are what's scary in the nether. They've always been what's scary in the nether. And I didn't hear it behind me until I was dead. Yeah, that would have been an amazing run. Happy 2026, everyone. This is a very fitting start. Very evocative of what, like, typical Minecraft experience is like. I didn't know what I was supposed to do there, really. I didn't have enough diamonds to make, like, something a little bit more substantial. Like a chest piece or anything. I considered just running back to the real world to get protection on everything. Yeah, I think what I've learned from this, from this particular encounter, bows are a must for the Nether, or some ranged weapon. I think the inability to get rid of skeletons for encounters is paramount to beating it, like, reliably. That's not to say I couldn't do it without a bow. It's just that that has to be like one of the base equipment things, you know, moving forward. And I know I can beat it. I was so close that one stream. So, I'll do other streams in the near future. I don't know when, but I'll beat it. I will. It's 2026. I'm gonna beat this goddamn hardcore mode.